So I'm here with my lovely friend Charlie,
Yeah.
who has revealed to me today that he has hidden talents that I didn't know about, and actually used to be a graffiti artist. Is that what you would describe yourself as?
Not even an artist, to be honest with you. I think I would just say, I'm 40 now. I actively wrote graffiti in Chicago, where I grew up, for probably 10 years, between the ages of 16 to 26.
That's so. What got you into it in the first place?
It was just a part of the culture of growing up in like hip hop and skateboarding and things like that. I started DJing and doing graffiti, and when I was probably like a freshman in high school, something like that, like 14. I'd been skateboarding for like years and years before that, and that was all kind of part of it. It was like the same group, same crew, same group of people, crews of kids and stuff like that were involved in the scene, kind of. And I looked at it as a community.
I love that. Do you remember your first
time I ever did a tag? I'm trying to think. No, I don't, honestly. I was really young. I mean, I started like doing, like, practicing graffiti just in like notebooks and stuff when I was like in 5th grade or something, like really young. I got really young. I think I got turned on to it by a famous photography book by a lady named Martha Cooper, who was a photographer in New York City in the 70s and 80s, who was like famous for what's it called? Documenting really the graffiti scene there in the city in the 80s, and like specifically the subway graffiti scene. And she had her and Henry Chalfant, who was a curator, I believe, of a famous art gallery in New York, did like a seminal photography book called Subway Art.
Yeah.
And this was kind of like a lot of people, it was like widely available in, bookstores across the nation. And it was like a lot of people who didn't necessarily like grow up in New York City, but it was like their introduction to graffiti kind of in the United States. Yeah. So anybody who was like a graffiti writer, like, got that book, basically,
And have you still got that book?
No, I don't. I wish I had all that stuff. I don't have like any of that stuff anymore. I think when we moved out of our like childhood house that I grew up in, like all of my graffiti like paraphernalia that I had growing up in high school was gone.
And was it like a secret life that you led? Were you kind of Banksy? Did your parents know that you were
They knew something was up. I mean, it's kind of hard to hide. But they knew, but they didn't know like the extent of it. And I also didn't get like really, really active until I moved out of the house.
Yeah.
Until I was like 18, and I was living, in the city and going to college, and I was going to school for photography and for graphic design. And like the kind of graphic element of graffiti is like a big part of it, the typography, and like being able to kind of like design word forms, like the design elements of it are like definitely a big part of it. There's a lot of parts of it though, that's the thing, you know what I mean?
So how was your process when you were, did you find a wall?
And
then did you get a piece of paper, scribble what you wanted to do, and then how?
It depends. It just depends what you're doing. Like if you're doing a big, what they call a piece, which is like a very colorful kind of large mural.
Yeah.
Like you would sketch it out beforehand. You would use colors beforehand. You would have a sketch that you would go to the wall with.
Yeah.
And like whether it was illegal or legal, you would kind of act accordingly. If it was a legal wall, you would talk to the owner of the wall and like get permission, or maybe even it's a job, you get paid. If it's a business or something, you do the business name, really, all this kind of stuff. But if it's illegal, then obviously it's like, and you're doing like a very serious kind of thing that will take like maybe an hour or so, then you have to stake it out for like days at a time. You have to watch when people come and go. You have to do reconnaissance. You have to do all this crazy stuff, basically.
And did you get kind of a buzz from that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's a rush. It is like anything. And like I was saying earlier, I was never an artist. I was never like artistically inclined. I was like graphically inclined.
Yeah.
And creative, and that was enough. Basically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I had friends that were like super, super, super talented artists who now like stayed, like they're like semi-retired in graffiti. They're like you know, what are we, 40 years old now, and like they're still like semi-active in Chicago, but they're still doing art as their you know, their main moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
And they're like tattoo artists and mural painters and graphic designers and, you know, work in advertising and this kind of stuff. So it all kind of came from that place.
And have you ever been back and looked to see if they're still there?
No, Chicago has an extremely active, what they call the buff in Chicago, which is like paint the city municipal services that paint and erase graffiti, basically. Paint and like sandblasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing. I mean, that was when I was really active. We would do it like specifically for the picture, even because we knew it would be gone within 24 hours sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, that's when it really was like for the action, really. You know.
So do you think almost, because here in Amman, obviously there's the street art festival where
Ballad
people
Deck.
are, exactly, and they're commissioned. Do
Yeah.
you think almost some of the magic of it is actually gone because it is planned and it's...
It can be. I mean, like some of those guys, I know like do actually do graffiti, and that's like a separate thing that they do from the Balladeck stuff. The Balladeck stuff is like, you know, super legal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, it's like beyond super legal, right? So I think that like it's not the same. I think it's like comparing apples to oranges, really. Is that like the stuff like Balladeck is done on such a scale that it's like almost like, you know, street art on steroids. Like it's huge, you know what I mean? And that's part of what makes it really cool.
Yeah.
You know, is the scale of it. But yeah, I mean, it would be really tough to do. People do illegal things like that, but it's, you know, obviously you can't work on the same.
And have you ever been tempted to pick up a can here?
Yeah, of course, but like, you know, I'm, you know, I don't know, too old now, you know what I mean?
Too old?
Yeah, I am 40 as a kid. I can't be like running from the police, you know, anymore.
Can I show you what
sure.
I have drafted and get your opinions on how easy you think it might be to replicate or to put onto a wall. So just to give you a bit of background, I found a wall on a local school, if I find you the blank canvas first. So the school it's an all-boys Jordanian government school. They already have existing. It's in Amman.
Okay.
Yeah, so just around the corner from my house.
Oh wow.
But they already have existing sort of very Jordanian,
like
nationalistic graffiti, exactly.
Mural stuff. Yeah.
But they have literally just built a new shed.
Okay.
Right on the end, and it's kind of prime.
Yeah, it is. That's prime.
It's exactly. I kind of each day I'm checking it to check nobody's got there first. But I decided I wanted to do not a Banksy, but I was inspired by the fact that Banksy kind of uses elements of what he is drawing.
Oh wow!
So this was my first initial draft.
That's cool.
Which is using the Arabic calligraphy on there, and I wanted this girl to be kind of building it.
That's so cool, yeah.
But my feedback from my calligraphy teacher was that he didn't necessarily feel it was clear enough that dot belongs at the beginning.
I could see that.
So I
was kind of like, is that a phone in her hand? Like,
exactly, exactly. So I've developed it a bit further today, if I just show you my latest.
Yeah.
And I've kind of dropped the flag element, still keeping with the national colours.
Yeah.
And now she's got a step ladder.
That's
but
so
I'm not
cool.
sure if I like
and
it.
The other pieces down there.
Exactly, the spare pieces at the
That's
bottom. Cool. I kind of like the silhouette being on the white, that's the only thing. But how easy or technical do you think that is as a...
It's not super hard. I mean, this can all be done with like stencils and taping and things like that.
Yeah.
And like bucket paint even, you know. And brushes. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
How long would you think something like that would take?
Oh, it'll take a little while though. It's a lot of space to cover. I would say it'll take like from start to finish like over an hour, like an hour and a half. Maybe.
I love that. That's your like a really long time.
Yeah, right. I know.
My God, it took me over an hour to make this on the computer. So
no, it's it'll take over an hour, I think.
Oh, that's really